All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday again, and I don't know. I'm just gonna speak stream of consciousness and not the first. What a great intro. Okay. It is Monday morning, and we're here and we're ready to go. Today I've got a live interview. I tried to go live just a second ago, and then it failed to go to one of the destinations, which was an error that I made, and had to correct that. And then I was just thinking, I like how fast it goes live. It's like I've got it hardwired to the computer now, and now it goes live in like 2 seconds. Boom, you're live. Whereas if I go through Wi-Fi, it takes like 5 or 6 seconds, and that might seem like it doesn't matter, and it probably doesn't matter, but it it just it's like no hesitation. Boom. There's something about it. The details matter. I don't know that this one does, but it feels like it does. All right. Today is my last day, my actual last day of pickup basketball. Although it probably won't be, but it's the last one for me at MUSC. So I'm printing out some flyers that I'm gonna hand out, like little, maybe like almost like business cards, almost instead. Gonna do an event, uh, not really a music related event at all. Um, this isn't really relevant to today. I like to get the wheels turning. Kind of get into some casual stuff, get the flow going. I should have got up and gone for a run. That's what I need to do every Monday, is make sure that I'm getting up and going for that run in the morning. And I've been a little bit slack on it of late, and I just need to not do that. So, all right. Last day of pickup basketball today, which may seem minor, but there's a reason why I say it, because it's not in my life. Pickup basketball is one of the most important things that's been consistent throughout my entire life, and also in my time in Charleston, playing at the MUSC Wellness Center has been uh, what fundamental, or it's been uh, I don't know, one of my favorite things about Charleston has been this pickup basketball group. Um, it's hard to describe. It's such a good group of different personalities and different levels of talent, and the culture of the sort of everyone's approach is at the peak of pickup basketball. You don't see, in my opinion, you don't see cultures like this in pickup basketball situations. There's always way more arguing and stops in the game and conflicts and disrespect and all that's associated with pickup basketball. And this group has pulled together something very different. It has a large number of different people that participate, and all bring almost across the board consistently good attitudes, and effort, and just all the things you want. Speaking of basketball, Pacers and and Oklahoma City Thunder game 2 last night. I guess I can give quick thoughts on that. And uh, if you follow the NBA at all, this year, in my opinion, is actually a really nice year for the finals, because these two teams they're good, talented teams, but beyond that, they are hard working teams. These games have pace, to say the least, and they are trying to outwork each other, and it's just a relentless pressure and effort, which to me, it just makes it really nice to watch. And they're also really well balanced team games. They're not just like throw it to one guy and we'll see what this one guy can do. It's really use your entire team and into your bench. And there's no, and the players themselves are quite unselfish. It's just very good team oriented basketball. So it's good basketball. So it's a good year. I think the Pacers and the Thunder aren't really popular teams. Not like some others, like maybe the Lakers or the Knicks or something. But it's I don't know. It's really good finals. I think it's probably going to be overall one of the better finals, at least in recent years. But as you may know, the Pacers took and stole Game 1, as they've done a whole bunch of times this playoff season, and they looked like they were maybe trying to do the same thing. I feel like I started to think they've got this way that they've figured out to play, where they pace themselves and they don't allow themselves to get rattled, and they're riding this fine line where they understand other team, even if they are going on runs, is in order to go on those runs, they're exerting their energy, they're using their energy, they're using those opportunities, and the Pacers it's like the rabbit and the hare. Not the rabbit and the hare, it's like the tortoise and the hare. That the Pacers allow other teams to be the hare, and they're the tortoise that just never stops. But they're like a really fast tortoise, so they're moving at a really good pace, but just steady, and they're never. Yeah, they tend to just kind of keep that pace no matter what happens, and they just push at this pace. And it's a fast pace, but it's not like they're fastest possible. So I feel like they've done that, where they kind of lull teams into thinking that that they've put themselves in such a good position they can't lose, and they're just relentless. But the Thunder is a different team, and the Thunder can match or exceed the Pacers' level of intensity and pace. They can match it. They've got the youth and the strength and the quickness, and they've got all that to keep right up with them, if not more. And they've also seen, as everybody watching the playoffs has already seen, the Pacers pull these comebacks off, and they still let it happen to them. So I think OKC, they're just never going to take their foot off the gas. They're never, until the game is literally unobtainable, where you got, like last night, 2.5 minutes and 20 points to make up or something, and that's next to impossible. I mean, you would have to have OKC make like turnover after turnover after turnover in seconds. They would have to just blunder badly so many times that that's just not going to happen. They can just run out the clock. That's all they got to do is pass the ball in, hold it, get it across half court, and then hold it and either get fouled or just let the clock run out, the shot clock, and then there's no way that those 20 points can be made up. So I really think that if I had to put money on it, I'm putting money on OKC, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win the next 3 games. And I thought that even before they won this one last night, but the Pacers were going to be, excited coming off of a Game 1 win in OKC, and I thought to some extent last night was anybody's game, and you just really had to see how OKC was going to respond. And they can always have bad games. They had a lot of players have good games last night. So, um, anything is possible. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if OKC actually just wins the next 3 games, and that's the series. They're a strong team, and I've noticed this. This is the last thing I'll say on it. I've noticed throughout the playoffs there seem to be when you have a player on your team, one player that is able, or at least one player that is able to get whatever they want. When something needs to happen, that it's just almost it almost looks effortless for them on the court to get clean shots, get shots that they want to take, get shots that they feel comfortable taking and comfortable making. When you have a player like that, just one, even if it's just one, it just takes so much pressure off the rest of everyone else. And because they always know we can throw it to this guy and we're going to get a good look. Almost at a high rate, we're going to get either he's going to take a good shot or somebody else, he's going to get doubled or tripled and somebody else is going to get a good shot. And for the OKC, for the Thunder, that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And as much as I don't like how he is clearly trying to draw fouls, he uses the technical sides of the game to his advantage with the way that he contorts his body and leans in kind of awkward ways to ensure that he forces contact and leans into ways where the defender literally can't defend without creating more contact. And then as soon as the defender tries to hold their ground when he's leaning into them, then so they push with strength a little bit to hold their space. Then he'll flop essentially, and he'll react, and you see this so many times through his drive that he'll bounce back, he'll get knocked back, even though there was clearly not enough force to do that. But he just tries to indicate when he gets any kind of pushback against his momentum, he'll flail a little bit to give a chance for a whistle to be blown. And so I'm not a huge fan of that style of play. I think you're scheming the game a bit, and you're not relying on your athleticism to win. But nevertheless, he is that player that it's like from the Timberwolves. It's Anthony Edwards. When you're watching him in most of the series, he just looked like he's on another level, and anytime he wants to, he can get past defender, he can get to his spot. And so I just feel in those series, whenever Anthony Edwards, it was like that, until they matched up. Once they matched up against the Pacers, it no longer looked like that. I mean, he still kind of could, but the pressure was way harder for him to deal with. And I felt like the same thing was true with Halliburton in a number of the other series. It looked like he was just faster than everyone. And I mean, he would run in what could be typically thought of as very unconventional kind of basketball motions. I mean, I don't think his game looks so fluid or smooth. It looks a little awkward, and he doesn't. I don't think he takes advantage of space quite like some other players, like Shai, for example. But you could just see that it didn't even matter because he was just willing to run so fast and work so hard. He would just outrun. He was like running sprints with the ball, even backwards, away from the basket to create space. And players just couldn't keep up with him. And then you see in this series with OKC, that's not working. Players are able to keep up with him, and so it's taken away that kind of foolproof go-to option that the Pacers had. And I think that's huge because now every possession is going to be difficult. Every possession is going to be difficult. And there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be have to be put in to getting a good shot. Whereas OKC, I think they're settling in to realizing they really can, for the most part, just go to Shea when they, if they need to. And I think they're balancing it really well, because if you just go to him every time, you're going to ice your other players, and and then you're going to let the defense be able to focus more on just stopping one thing. And so they're balancing it really well, where they're going to him the right amount of times where they can really take advantage of this advantage that they have. Shea seems to, even against this Pacers defense, be able to get what he wants almost whenever he wants it. Sometimes he gets stopped like for a few seconds, but doesn't even look, a lot of times, like he's really trying, and he just kind of passes off at those points. When he's determined, he makes it look easy. He makes it look easy, which is incredible because this Pacers defense has been a lot to contend with for many, many teams, all really, really trying to win. I mean, I thought the best example was probably the Timberwolves. I thought the Timberwolves had a very strong team. They had a very physical team, and they had athleticism, they had strength, and they just looked outclassed. And I may be even remembering that wrong now. Let me look at this. The Timberwolves, I'm thinking the Timberwolves played the Pacers. They played the Thunder. So that answers some questions. The Timberwolves, maybe they would have had more success against the Pacers. I don't know. But yeah, they looked outclassed. They couldn't compete with the Thunder. All right, we'll move on. Okay, so today, we're gonna get into this interview. I'm gonna hit play on this video, and I don't have a ton that I'm gonna talk to you guys about today. But I'm going to play this interview. Maybe a few weeks ago, I sat down with Tim Falvey of what used to be Uncle Tim's Bench, and is now Big Iron Echoes. I sat down with him, or rather he sat down and I crouched, I think. And I set up my mobile recording equipment to capture an interview with him at the bench. And so I'm going to play this interview, and then I'm going to play his song Reveille. And I hope you enjoy it. I don't know if there's a lot that I need to say to introduce it. So I think I'll just play it. So here it goes.
My stock answer about New York City in the last year and a half has been New York City is intense, unforgiving, precarious, and I'm very happy to be there. So in short, that's how it's going.
Some of those, the words that you used, many people wouldn't associate it with loving to be somewhere. So why, maybe can you delve into that a little bit about why you find that compelling?
When you're in love with something or somebody, when you love something or somebody, you're resolute and you're driven, you're more than compelled, you're focused, and a lot of the time when you love something and you're in love with something, it tends to make you happy in spite of, and sometimes because of, the intensity or precariousness or difficulty that you face.
And what about the experience itself of New York? Has that experience, in terms of you doing music there, or what the city is actually like, the experience that you have with other people there? How has the reality compared and contrasted?
The major distinction that I'm recognizing is that the timeline for my vision to come to fruition is and will be a lot longer than I want it to be. The city itself, I mean, has lived up to its expectation as far as how megalithic it is. These stalagmites of skyscrapers just shooting up out of an island and dwarfing every living creature that strolls through is amazing to me. It's inspiring, it's beautiful, it's wind in my sails, and it's a curious catalyst for my artistic vision. As far as gigs go, I've not been able to secure as many shows in New York as I had been in Charleston. Charleston is relatively speaking, just doles out live music opportunities for musicians. Whether or not you've got a lot of experience, they're here, and you can play 7 days a week live if you want. New York, unless you crack the code, if there is a code, it's a lot more difficult. I'm just as happy to be there as I thought I would.
Now that you've relocated, although you come you're between, in some ways you're between cities, you're more so in New York, but as you said, a couple times a month back in Charleston. Can you talk maybe briefly about what the bench has meant to you historically and where you got the name Uncle Tim's Bench, this being the bench, and then does this still serve as an anchor point to you? Do you find when you come back to Charleston that it in some ways still anchors you, even though a significant amount of your time is spent in New York City? Is this still an anchor point, and have you found anything like that for you in New York, or is there something in New York that's taking its place?
Sure. I started showing up at this very bench in August of 2015. It has been and always will be a special place to me. Even when I lived in Carolina and traveled to go play music or see family, I would bring myself back mentally to this bench to ground myself in the middle of performance. I continue to do that in New York. If I need to recenter myself, I bring myself, my mind, my heart, my spirit on this bench playing, because I feel accepted here. I feel welcome. I feel home. I nicknamed the bench and my project Uncle Tim's Bench. The uncles in my life, expected role of them anyway, was to be welcoming storytellers. It was an apt nickname for both myself and a label for the bench. Now in New York, home sweet home now, and for the rest of my life, I still have an anchor in the bench in South Carolina. The serenity and the welcome and the embrace of Mother Harbor, of Lady Harbor. New York has its parallels to Uncle Tim's Bench, namely in the subway stations that I've mentioned, in Penn Station and Grand Central Terminal and Times Square 42nd Street Station. The Long Island Railroad offshoots that I've become accustomed to playing at. One in particular, I imagine it's a grand music hall because of its high ceilings and vast space. Right under 33rd Street, adjacent to Madison Square Garden in Penn Station. That's probably as close to Uncle Tim's Bench as New York City can offer. In its own way, has an embrace. It's much more chaotic, a much more kinetic atmosphere, much louder, much more distracting, but I can still find center and grounding and zen, and bring center and grounding and zen to life for others in that space.
So Uncle Tim's Bench and the transition to New York City kind of came with the transition to a new name around almost the same time. maybe the two are associated, but regardless, what's it been like shifting from that name, from Uncle Tim's Bench to Big Iron Echoes? And maybe you could just talk about that, what that experience is like, taking on a new name, and what Big Iron Echoes means to you, and why,
Certainly.
and also why.
Uncle Tim's Bench is and was a music incubator. For me, with the project and the concept, I learned how to perform live with other musicians. That was never granted to me, never taught to me, but I really wanted to do it, and so I had to create a vehicle to empower and enable myself to do so. That's what Uncle Tim's Bench became. So to perform with others in band and ensemble style settings, but just as well to rearrange and craft full band songs out of poetry that I wrote as a soloist, some of which were written and almost all of which were sculpted on this bench playing solo. Big Iron Echoes, the transition or graduation to that is only appropriate, I think. So the music developed with Uncle Tim's Bench, and now it needs another casing or vehicle to springboard to become relevant publicly to the masses. And that vehicle is Big Iron Echoes. The name itself is more intense. The name itself sounds more like rock and roll. The name itself is mysterious or enigmatic, and as well as it is vivid. It's a direct draw from and allusion to a lyric in my song Tiger Lily. Happiness sounds kind of like those Big Iron Echoes. Free falling downtown in the key of D major. A big iron backdrop to a sour, sweet, squealing, rusty noise. We were singing petty songs of good girls and bad boys. That verse of that special song describes the experience of happiness under the sense of sound. Happiness, if happiness could be described as a sound, happiness could be described as Big Iron Echoes. Big Iron Echoes being a reference to the noise that my harmonicas made as they shot up and down the skyscraper chutes of Asheville, North Carolina, when I went busking there years ago. In my recollection, the name of a statue that I stood against when I was busking in Asheville is actually, I looked it up, it's actually called the Flatiron statue. And it is a statue literally of a larger-than-life sized iron that you would use on an ironing board, made of iron. The Flatiron statue stood to my back as I busked on the hills of downtown Asheville. My harmonica noise bellowed and billowed up and down the Asheville skyscraper chutes in this hilly town. That line has stuck with me since, and I think just the line itself is so vivid, a little bit mysterious, quite powerful, rather poetic. It deserved to be highlighted, and it actually became the name of a live album that Uncle Tim's Bench recorded from a performance at Music Farm in Charleston in 2023. In retiring, if you will, Uncle Tim's Bench and all of the streaming music that Uncle Tim's Bench put out, I still wanted to retain that special lyric, and it was an apt name for a rock and roll project, Big Iron Echoes. And now when people ask, so tell us about the name, very truthfully, Big Iron Echoes describes the sound that my harmonicas make as they billow up and down the subway tunnels of Manhattan and up and down the skyscraper chutes of Manhattan. That's the Big Iron Echo, and that really defines, it's a special signature to the rock and roll idea that I want Big Iron Echoes, the band, to be.
There's a parallel there with the anchor, like with the Uncle bench being an anchor point. The Big Iron Echoes is an anchor point in a way because it's you described it as happiness. That's the harmonic is the evidence of, or it is
Happiness
in Big Iron Echoes, and that as the core or the focal, I guess the center message that's there.
How about that?
It's cool too that you found, when you lead with the name, and then some of the places that you performed end up being places that allow for Big Iron Echoes. That's pretty cool. And then also I had this thought that maybe you don't end up playing Madison Square Garden. You play the place that you already found, but that becomes the new Madison Square Garden.
There we go. I get it. I love the attitude. I do.
That would be freaking cool.
I appreciate the attitude. Maybe Madison Square Garden's not big enough.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
It only holds 19,500.
All right, so we touched on some poetry as we talked about Big Iron Echoes. Some of the lyrics from your song, Tiger Lily. Today we're going to talk about Reveille. What does Reveille mean, and then maybe what does the song mean to you? Yeah.
Reveille is a French word, I believe pronounced in French, Reveille. I may be mistaken.
Okay.
It means to wake up, or to get up. Wake up, get up. It's also the name of the bugle song that's performed in the morning as the flag is raised on army posts. It's time to get up. It signifies that it's time to get up. It challenges you to get up. It demands that you get up. That's what Reveille means. Music and art and poetry have become a means for self-medication for me, to manage grief, to process conflict and confusion, to egress from sadness, or to drown myself in excitement and do so as much as possible in a perpetual manner. And the poetry of Reveille was all of that. And as with all of my writing, an intention of it is to make it public, to be accessible to strangers. One of the most digestible ways to offer vocabulary as art is through song. And so I immediately started creating ideas for ways to leverage it through song. I fought and fought and fought to keep myself from succumbing to depression and or overwhelming anxiety. Or in order to treat all of that, I wrote and I grappled with vocabulary and I developed it through sound and I played it incessantly. And now, 7 years later, Reveille continues to be a rallying cry for me. Things as grand as uprooting myself from Charleston and moving to New York to go seek a rock and roll fantasy. Gotta get up, man. I believe there's an urgency and a criticality and a very finite time limit presented to us when we conceive our dreams or when they're offered to us. And Reveille really rallies one to activate and just fucking get it. Chase it down. If I had 1,000 lives to live, I might not feel so pressured to go chase down the rock and roll vision in a city like New York that isn't offering a handout necessarily. I may get back to that. But I think I'm only going to live this life one time, so I got to get up.
You've performed that song out a lot for years. Have there been any standout moments where you've had a performance connect with somebody where you can see that song has done something for them? Has anybody communicated that kind of stuff? I'm going to pause and play the song for you guys, and then we'll enter back into the interview. In that spot right there. So this is Reveille.
This one's for all the musicians hanging out in the concert hall tonight. If you got a story, tell it. If you don't have a stage, fucking build it. If you got a way, take it. If you don't have a way, make it. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up. Tear out the pages, man. Burn the book. Turn in the script, man. Don't you dare take another look. Turn the corner, man. Set the pace. Take that step, man. Take that step, man. Run your race. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up. Rip! crossroads, near the corner of Calhoun and King. A young man dances naked in a pelting rain, and a squeaky street sweeper sings 5 a.m. a requiem for my bestest friend today. In the red and green go-go light of a reveille. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up. Gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up. Gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up, gotta get up.
Go back to the interview. So the question that was asked here is, has this song that we just listened to, Reveille, had impact on other people that he's performed this song for? He's performed this song, the question as it was posed, he's performed this song many, many times. Are there any instances where he's, had a personal experience seeing how this song impacted listeners or somebody specific? To you about that song and how it's impacted them? If there's nothing specific, that in terms of like somebody where you see, it doesn't matter, it's fine.
I have specifics.
Yeah. Okay.
You're one of them, Noah.
I would say so.
Absolutely one of them. And I think you've observed it in other musicians too.
Yes, I have, for sure. It might not be a concrete thing, like you can just point to it. It may be more of a thing where you just see it. You see it when people are experiencing the song or they're playing with you. As part of Uncle Tim's Bench.
That really comes alive,
right?
When you're playing it.
Because then, and you give people this opportunity to experience the song through Uncle Tim's Bench, but they give it their own. You let it be theirs.
Yeah.
You let it be theirs, and then they have a chance to really experience this song, and you allow them to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's offered to you. It's now your ammunition. The point is the message and the empowerment of everybody on that stage, particularly, but also the listeners in the audiences. There are people who've never touched an instrument in their life, who I care to engage, empower, not just entertain, but to offer something to face life head on with.
I think it's a song that's applicable to everyone in every walk of life. It crosses everything because there's a drive, a need to get up no matter what you're doing. Life's not easy, and the only way you're going to overcome is if you muster everything you got and you get up, and you get up again, and you get up again, and you get up again, and that's how you're going to get up. But with it also has very clear and lyrically in the song, and maybe that's where we can go from here. Clear implication for artists and for people that are stage performers. For me, as I go on this journey of being an artist, being a performer, and the grind that's associated with it, and realizing that nobody's going to hand it to you, and you can get in this frame of mind where you see a particular stage, you think, if I could play that stage, then it would happen. Your song calls us to build our own stage.
Right here.
Exactly. At
Right
the bench.
here.
Build,
Right here.
There's something beautiful about taking what's otherwise maybe something ordinary, and it doesn't need to be extraordinary to become extraordinary. That for the amount of beautiful stories that have taken place through music, it's taking an ordinary place and then having extraordinary things manifest, like manifesting extraordinary things from that space, and then that space becomes this beautiful symbol, and that can be done anywhere. And so your song is a reminder to people, and it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call that sort of, yeah, it's like, that's the way it is. You know. So, but okay, give us some more insight into the lyrics and maybe some of your favorite lyrics.
Sure.
Yeah.
That line stands out above all to me, I think, as well. Build your stage. Yeah, the vision is Madison Square Garden, but first of all, it's not going to be handed. Second of all, it's a crapshoot, even if you're naturally gifted and you're offered opportunities. Third of all, people have to like your sound and your brand enough to drop big money to go see you at a place like Madison Square Garden. I don't know that I started with any of that. But what I do have is a subway station. What I do have is a park bench. What I do have is Sidewalk Square on Market Street in Charleston. This is my Madison Square Garden. Market Street is my Madison Square Garden. Grand Central Terminal is my Madison Square Garden. And that's sacred ground. You create the experience that you hope to achieve. That's the attitude I have anyway, especially because nobody's giving it to me. And at some point, I think organically and intentionally, with an obsessive degree of effort and focus and desire and fun, Madison Square Garden will come about from Uncle Tim's Bench, from Penn Station, from hole-in-the-wall bars. These park benches are the vision, are the dream. And if you can approach your performance in that manner, if you can build your stage, build your apex, it'll likewise come to you. Build your stage. I dare you. It's nothing short of a dare to the musicians out there. I dare you. But those were words to myself when I first sculpted the lyrics to that song. They're still words to myself. I dare you to get your ass and go fucking build your stage in New York City. I dare you. I dare you. And if I didn't go to New York to build my stage, I couldn't properly challenge every other musician out there who hears my song to do the same. If I didn't go to New York, Noah, I couldn't rightfully advise you or dare you or push you or excite you to create whatever it is that's your stage, whatever vision you might have in music or otherwise. That was me. The compulsion to do that was me following my vocation, embracing my calling, and taking a risk. I don't know exactly what's out there on that frontier, but knowing that I love what I do, and I think I got a chance. I built my stage. I'm building it.
If you want your message to have any meaning, you have to be willing to live it yourself. You know.
Precisely.
Are you working on any new music, and maybe just overall what maybe people can look for, if it's newsletters or what they can look for to see from you?
My approach since moving to New York regarding crafting new material, my immediate priority was just survival, getting into places to perform live, building a community of my own. Meanwhile, actively collecting observations and inventorying experiences mentally to be able to craft music from. The last year and a half, I haven't written nearly as much as I might have expected to. But of late, the last couple of months, I'm getting back in touch with drafting one-liners as I observe cool things or experience impactful experiences.
Follow your newsletter, or what would be the best way to kind of follow what you're doing?
I'm most actively available on social media on Instagram or Facebook under the name Big Iron Echoes. I do keep a semi-regular newsletter, and it's able to be found at bigironechoes.com.
Anything else that you'd like to add, Dad?
Yes.
Okay.
We as musicians are a trusted core of priests and priestesses. If you have a message, it's not necessarily about you anymore. You've transitioned from a self-medicator into a practitioner of music. And in a rut or slow spot or doldrums, keep in mind that, if you've evolved into a storyteller, not just a story writer, you have a calling and an accountability to your listener. So keep the listener on the forefront. If for some reason you don't feel fulfilled in doing music for yourself, we're message bearers. And also keep in mind that it's fun. Music makes me happy. Doing music fulfills me. So that's a kernel of truth I have to remember even when the return on my investment isn't visible or palpable. And I hope the musicians in the concert hall tonight can do the same if you're in that same position. Build your stage, tell your story, sing your song. Gotta get up, man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I can't wait for the outtake reel.
But I'm gonna at least put that in the edit, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, we got a musician coming up. That's cool. Someone to play some tunes. I don't know where he plays. Not everybody finds this to be their best spot. There's a banjo player who always stands over there, if he's still alive.
All right, so that's my interview with Tim Falvey and of Big Iron Echoes. We enjoyed the song Reveille together this morning. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to say. I had a lot of different thoughts as we go through the interview. I think it's I recorded it, so to some extent I'm maybe praising myself here, but I think primarily I would be praising Tim. That I think it's a really good interview. I think there's a lot of good information in there. There's a lot of for any artist, I think it's one of the things that I'm driven to do is to try to make the path easier for artists, because it was not easy for me. And maybe what you realize is that it's inevitable. If you want to develop as an artist, it's going to be a difficult path because you have to go through the difficulty to kind of, like, that's an inherent part of sort of developing or processing yourself so that you can do what needs to be done, or so that you have like the fortitude, the courage, whatever it is, the strength that is formed through, it's like, you lift weights, you build muscle. There's like duress is what can strengthen something. And so to some extent it may be unavoidable, but what may be could be helpful is if you can help people understand the process in advance, that you may be able to help people contend with discouragement, or just move through it easier, not get knocked on your butt by discouragement, or by things not being quite what you maybe would hope. The path of the artist, I'll say this, and then I'm at an hour, so I think I'll cut it short. I've talked about this before, but maybe I can give a little bit of a new angle on it, that when you first start out performing, and right now I'm talking to a guy about potentially looking to start Mic Club again, and with a little bit of a new strategy or approach, a format to the event, and let me a little bit more focus about what it is. And a big part of what I want to do at that event is build community, but create space, create opportunity where people can genuinely grow, where growth is kind of the point, where honesty and togetherness and community is the point, and challenging yourself and bettering yourself through music and through performance. And that I think that those experiences, they're like emotional experiences, performance, when you're sharing things, and when you rise to the occasion to share what you have to share in the best way that you can, in the sense of maybe in terms of skill, but more importantly, just your intention, just having the proper intention, then I think you call better out of yourself. And so, as I was saying, as I've talked about before, when you start out maybe participating in an event like that, many events like that, you will, a lot of times, if you approach it from I think most of the time when people just start at performance, a lot of the time their intention is going to be a good intention, because they're compelled to do so, they're driven to do so, because it's something that's very anxiety ridden. Most people that are just starting are afraid to perform. And so most of the time, I think, it's not always, but most of the time when you're just getting out there, that intention is good, because you're trying to push yourself beyond a fear, and you want to share something. And so I think that's why most of the time when people perform for the first times, it's almost always going to be really well received. And that's the irony, is that people are so afraid a lot of times to get up there. It brings you so much anxiety. But the truth is, if you just get up there and do it, you're almost always going to be well received. What's not going to be well received is somebody that's getting up there for their own ego. That's not going to be. And even if that's your first time, and you get up there and you're like, everyone can feel it's like a look at me kind of thing, like show me how cool I am and praise me. That's not going to go over very well. Most of the time when people get up there for the first time, they're very nervous, and they are very nervous about how they're going to be received. It's not really about them. They want to be accepted, and they want to do this thing, and they don't. And it's a discovery, but you can respect that somebody getting up there and taking that first step. Now, as you develop further and further along, I feel like it can get really difficult. There's tricky stages of development where you don't know how to interpret things. and if you interpret things the wrong way, it could be really problematic. And so one of the things that can happen is, maybe at the beginning you start to be really well received, and you don't necessarily know why you're being well received, and it's very hard because it's complex. There's probably a lot of different reasons. There's things that are being received well. There's things that are not being received well, that are being overlooked and forgiven because you're new, and you don't really have a good way to understand, to parse that out. And so if you get it wrong, you're going to run into walls. You're going to run into walls, and you're going to think you're not going to understand these walls. And then there's also there's like stages of development, I think is the best way that I could say it, where you have to, it's like you have to go into a cocoon and evolve from being the caterpillar to the butterfly. Like you have to, what do you call that? You got to like transform, because what was can't continue to be. And that's the way that I think the path of an artist is. Because early on, you're maybe not yet an artist. You're somebody that's thinking about being an artist and toying with it. And I would say anybody that does art is an artist. Even if it's your first time, you're an artist. I think I don't think you should not allow you should give the respect to what you're doing. Whatever you made, that's art. It has value. And so to not call yourself that, I feel like it disrespects you or disrespects the art. But there's another way in which you have to evolve, because those early times, like I said, people, if you keep doing performance, maybe at the beginning it's about you, in the sense that it's something you want to do. If you keep doing it as a vocation, at some point it has to, and there's no clear line. It's not like you reach this finish line and then it's like, okay, now it's time. It's just it's something that's decided by fate, or by like how audiences receive you, or just timing and your own evolution. You have to move to this next stage where this first part is done. And now you take full responsibility. And every time you go out there, you already had your process and your time with this. And now when you go out there, it's like it's a job. It's a job, and there's work to be done. And it's like what Tim said in the interview. You go from being, like he described, a lot of his pursuit in music performance as a tool for like self-medication, for dealing with different internal things that he's going through, and then he said at some point you go from being a self-medicator to a practitioner, and somebody that can then offer that to other people. And I think that describes pretty well that transition, and that's something that's very hard to understand intellectually while you're going through it, because you can process that as rejection. It's very easy to process that as rejection. When you start out, you're very likely to have people telling you how good you are, how amazing your performance is. You might have people that are moved to tears, and you will genuinely be doing that. And there are things that you're doing that are creating these results. So you're getting people to dance, or whatever these emotional responses that you're eliciting. You will be a source that is bringing that into reality. Is creating is sort of a causal effect of that. But people might then, it goes to when I've talked in the past about processing feedback, that you may have people, and I've seen people post about this online, other musicians and artists that say, you should go try out for The Voice, or you should go do America's Got Talent. And I think that's a very rudimentary compliment. People, that, for a word to the wise to musicians out there that don't like hearing that comment, I think that's a compliment. And so that's the way it should be received. It shouldn't be taken too seriously, because you should do that if you want to, but it means this person had a positive experience with what you did, and that's a good thing. So you shouldn't be upset with somebody saying you should go. I see people that get up that take this like negative bent towards somebody that says you should go try out for The Voice or you should try out for whatever. Now, the reality of those shows is something that's very different than I think people have any intuition about. Most people, I don't think they remotely probably understand what it's actually like to try out for those shows and what those shows really are. It's really entertainment, and it's not. I don't know, and it's deeper than even that. I feel like that's. I'm not interested in talking negative about those shows fundamentally. They are what they are. In some ways, they're an incredible opportunity, and so they bring positive things to the table and they bring negative things to the table. Just because you succeeded on The Voice doesn't mean you really developed yourself as an artist, and that you're maybe doing something. You might be getting wrapped up into a business too soon, and then you don't even really know what effect you're having. You don't even really know what art you're creating or what you're being part of. And so if you rise to some kind of massive success very quickly, that may not actually be the best thing that could happen. So it could be very exciting, and you might really like it when it's when it first happens, and maybe it ends up being a great thing. I think it's a complex thing that you can't really just say it's this or it's this. Yeah. So we had this interview with Tim and listened to the song Reveille, and I guess just on the other side of that, I would again encourage that. I think some of the best advice or best things to keep in mind when you can go through those stages of frustration where, you used to perform at open mics, you used to perform at these different places, and people were so compelled by what you're doing. And then if you want to keep going in this as a career, you end up having to take all these different opportunities where you're put in a corner. And in some ways, the staging of what's going on, you could say it's disrespecting you. There's a lot of situations where the staging is absolutely disrespecting you. You're getting up there and sharing your emotions. You're getting up there putting your heart on your sleeve or sharing this music that you've worked on. And the staging kind of says, you're a side thing. Like, just kind of the wind in the window. We're just here because we wanted to have live music. But it doesn't, there or many different private events where the staging, there isn't really a stage. And so you end up shifting. Like, people may enjoy what you're doing, but they're not there for you. And or even I feel like even if you go perform at events like some open mics where there is more of a focus on the stage and on the performer, it's just different audiences have a time. They have a timeline. They have a timeline, and the open mic audience is there for you for your development stages. And then once you're through your development, it's not like, to a certain point, that's not really the right place for you anymore. It like that audience is they like music, but everybody's there and they like performance and they want to celebrate. But a lot of open mics, people are there for themselves fundamentally, and so this is not across the board by any stretch. There are plenty of great people. There are plenty of people that have deeper perspectives that are going to be in your audience at an open mic, but it's different than a more general audience that you might find in different places. If you played at a bar, or you played at a street corner, or you played at a venue, it's try to explain everything. so so you don't have to learn anything yourself. I try to tell you everything. But it's very complex. There's a lot to learn, and there's subtleties, because every performance space is going to be different, but you can start to see patterns as you start to notice details that you'll notice certain things about different places, and you can start to understand what kind of audience you may be working with, and what needs to be done in this particular situation. And that just is going to take experience. But I guess what I want to try to get across right now is that don't get discouraged by that, because if you get used to performing in certain environments and having a certain result, and then you like to think you're getting better, but then you might end up having worse results at some point where you're not getting nearly the kind of positive, enthusiastic response that you used to get. And it could be very well a combination of the audience has changed. Maybe you did get work. Maybe your intention that there's it's complex, because you may have moved, or you may be graduating, to audiences that have higher expectations and that aren't cutting you any slack. They don't think, oh, this is an open mic, this person's new, let's just be supportive. You end up playing for audiences they don't really care. They have expectations, and they don't care what your past is or what you're overcoming. They want the result. They want something good, and if you aren't giving it, then get out. So you might encounter stuff like that, and then the reality is, if you want to play in that space, you got to bring them something that that works. And so at the end of the day, that's on you. But you don't have to take it so hard. Like, you don't have to take it personal where that's your fault. You just have to realize, if you want to succeed in that environment on that particular night, you didn't have what you needed to have. So you got to go back, and do some practice and think about, what could you have done differently that might have worked. Try something, and you keep learning and keep trying to get better. But it's just so easy that at points when you are also there's the other side that as you grow and develop and get older, there's also lots of other things that can complicate your life that are going to have ramifications and impacts and place maybe stresses or pressures on what you're doing. And that may change. It can change the enjoyment that you get out of it. It may change what your relationship is to it. And that shift in dynamic is probably going to have an effect on your audience. It's probably going to affect on the relationship that you're able to cultivate with your audience, or it's going to be present in the situation. And so, there's a lot of different shifting things, and that have to be, that are all playing a role. And so, I guess I say all that to say, just it's a process, and you just can't allow yourself to get discouraged if you ever have days or periods of time where your results aren't what you would hope that they would be. And the only thing you can really do is keep pushing forward and put more work in, practice, get better, and just keep getting up and putting your best foot forward again. And that goes to, I think that's a great place to leave it, that with Reveille, gotta get up. Big Iron Echoes song, Tim's song, gotta get up. And then let's say you get up to the best of your ability, and it's not, and you don't quite get there, and then the next day you wake up, and when you have a great gig, and it's like popping off, and everything exceeds expectations on all levels, and everybody has such an incredible time, it's just magic. Then it's like euphoric, and then the next day you're probably at an all-time high. If you have another gig the next day, you're ready to go do it again, and you got the best energy in the world to go do it again. when you have a gig that you give that, so let's say that happens, you have the greatest gig ever, and then the next day you come at it with the best energy ever, and then you just get slapped on your face, you get knocked onto your butt because the audience just isn't responsive, they don't like it, whatever it is, and it's just like, oh man, I came at this with such good energy and I just got shafted, boom, and then if that happens for a few gigs in a row, then it's like now you're coming at a gig with a different energy. But the point being, you kind of just gotta, if you get knocked onto your butt, the next day you just gotta get up again like it didn't happen. You gotta get up again and come give it your best energy and let that day go. Whatever. Learn from it if you can, and just don't take it too hard. You take the hit, and then you get up again, and you get up even taller. And I think that's what this song is about to a major degree. And the last thing I'll actually say is the build your stage. That I love that line of build your stage, that we as artists and musicians often we maybe are looking for other people to put us on, and that Tim's song calls us to build our stage, as he said, right here, right on the bench, right in the train station, right in the bar, wherever it is. You build your stage, one gig at a time, one day at a time, one song at a time. Build your stage and build it right where you are, and he calls it sacred ground, and I think that's the right way to look at it. If you don't see it that way yourself, then your audience is probably not going to see it that way. I mean, if you see it as just another day at a bar, then that's the way it's going to feel. That's the way that's the vibe your performance will have. If it matters to you and you take it seriously and you take that opportunity for everything that it is, and you value that chance to connect with that bar, you value that chance to connect with the people walking down the street, and every opportunity that's there, you go after it for every bit of what goodness or potential that's there. And for me, like I played a party this weekend, and I feel like lately I've really been living that build your stage right here, and it's not something that was really conscious. It's something that slowly developed over years, where I have to recognize, like, okay, I put a lot of work in, and personally, I feel like I've crafted some really, really good songs that don't get to live the life that they should live. They don't get to serve. They don't get to offer the benefit to people that I think that they're crafted to offer. I mean, I think How I Could Say Goodbye is a good example of a song that I think could have a very big benefit to a lot of people if they listen to it. Maybe maybe the song sucks and I just like it. But to me, it's a song that will help anybody grapple with the difficulty of saying goodbye, and the spiritual sort of conundrum or the spiritual pitfall that can be, that sort of some realities of life can almost baby walk you into nihilism. And this song that I wrote, called How I Can Say Goodbye, is meant to be an antidote to that. It's meant to be something that it's a vaccine. How I Can Say Goodbye is a vaccine to nihilism. And so I think that's what it's meant to be. And I think so for me, as much work as I put into music and into writing that song and what it's taken to make that, they're like your babies, or you hope that they will have a life. You hope they will have a life, and they're meant to be listened to. They're meant to be heard, and so when they're not, it's like they don't get to live their purpose. They don't get to fulfill their purpose, and so that can be very discouraging. And you think, I built this great thing. It should be able to take off and have this life, but it's just not going to be that easy. And so it's going to take a lot of time of building the stage and getting enough people to lend their listening ear before people really start to buy in and listen more carefully, and actually to the point where they can actually receive the benefit. And so it's probably going to take a lot of work to get people past that, where they take it seriously enough and listen close enough, where it can actually be appreciated. It can actually work. And so, but it's for that reason that I started to see that there's no sense in pacing myself at this point. For many years I felt like I wanted to pace myself. You learn about artists, that some of our most exceptional artists that people revere, they die young. And so that's something that I never wanted to happen. I didn't want to die young. And I've talked to a comedian friend of mine that about that exact thing, and that for him, for that very reason, he was kind of afraid of comedy, because not from the standpoint of he didn't like doing the comedy or he was afraid to go on the stage. He loved comedy and loved the theater of it. But it was that knowing that a lot of his comedy heroes ended up dealing with really difficult things that killed them young. A lot of performers, a lot of successful performers end up having drug addictions and stuff like that. And there's probably something to that. It's not just coincidence. And so for this comedian friend of mine, that made him very careful or tepid to really dive in to that world. And the same thing can be said about musicians. There's a lot of successful musicians that end up having very difficult emotional journeys or spiritual journeys, and many that die young. And so I thought, I think I want to pace myself, and I want to live to be 80. And if you take one of these musicians that maybe died at 27, maybe they had like 7 years or something of making really, really good music. It's often the question is asked, what would have happened if they could live till 80? What music would we have? What music would we have had? Now, I think also if you're thinking that way, you might have to think if their approach was different, maybe they could have lived to 80, but then they wouldn't have made what they made at those early years. And so you may not, you may have to, it's different results. And so if somebody goes all out earlier in their life and puts it all on the line, maybe they can achieve these great results early, and they're going to do something that's very special and unique in that way. And there's a price that ends up being paid. And I think probably the same is true for people that have much longer lives and longer careers. They might not be as like prolific early on, but it's just different. It's different. Life is complex. A lot of things to think about, and got to make different decisions, and then live with the results. And but build your stage, and that's how I've been feeling, is that I don't need to pace myself anymore, and that I'm either gonna it's my career is gonna be whatever it's gonna be, but I look at part of it is not just my age, it's also the state of the world, that I think there's no reason to pace myself anymore. There's my message, the time for my message, there's no time to wait for it anymore. I guess it's now. I just think, we don't know what's around the corner, or how many years of sort of normal we have. I think we saw with COVID how abnormal life could get quickly, and I think a lot of the sort of chaotic energy that's in the world right now is still really strong, and so I just think, you know what? I guess I feel confident at this point to just share my message and be okay with if it's received or not. If I go into a particular event space, I'm going to share my message, and those people may want to hear it or they may not want to hear it. And I don't have any control over that. What I do have control over is giving my message the way my message is. And then I have control over trying to improve my message and make myself better and make my message better. And that's the only thing I have control over. And then I'm going to go and share my message. And so if I go share my message in the Kiowa pool, for example, maybe the people in the Kiowa pool, which I played on Friday, maybe overall what they want to hear is Bob Marley and like Margaritaville, and they want a certain vibe that allows them to live in a fantasy, a short-term fantasy of an escape, a temporary break, a temporary escape from the realities of the world. Now, I'm trying to offer them something different than that because I think that that's silly, and so I'm not going to do that. And so, if that means that the management or whatever doesn't think, they don't want to hire me again, then that's their call, and they get to cultivate. It's their space. They get to cultivate the space however they want, and that's not neither right or wrong. That's their choice. It's their space. They get to do what it is. But if I am going to come perform, they hire my services. I have something that I'm offering, and so what I'm offering is I'm trying to offer a different kind of peace and hope, and I'm trying to offer hope and faith and excitement and deeper peace. I am trying to help people to have a mental approach towards some of the difficulties that we face in this world as a culture, as a global culture, to help people have a peace about all of it, and to not let the challenges and the difficulties make anyone small, make anything good that's in anyone to make it small, to help people understand that they are seen, and the best thing they can do is get up, as this Reveille song says. The best thing they can do is put their best foot forward, and that they can do that with full confidence, and that there's other people just like them that are going to do that, and to some extent it doesn't matter what the results are. That's all we can do, and I want to encourage others to do that, and if enough people can do that, if enough people hear that message and do that, we're going to be living in a really, 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 really good world. It ain't going to get better. I mean, if everybody's doing that, which is nearly impossible, because there's 8 billion, and that would be a very high percentage. To a certain degree, I'm a mathematician. I'm not, but the more that there, I think it's it's either a vicious cycle or a wonderful cycle. If the more that there are people doing good things in the world and are living to the best of their ability, the easier it makes for everyone else to do the same. The more encouraged others will be to do the same. And we can tie this all back to where I started with the basketball. The same thing is true in a microcosm of a basketball team. If you have a player like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that just makes it so easy and effortless and creates this benefit to your situation that just raises it up, it encourages others to do the same, and it makes it so much easier for others to live well and make better choices and do kind things because they're not in a state of they're in need or desperation. And people are more likely to make bad choices if they're desperate. And so it's like the wind. If we can get the wind to blow in a certain direction, we're going to start to see a lot of results that are going in that direction. And so we'll end with a call to all the artists, all the musicians, to build your stage, sing your message with strength and conviction, try to better yourself, humble yourself, be kind, be humble, be excellent. That's a bumper sticker I've made recently. If you'd like to get one, I've got them on my website. I got one on my car. It says excel, be kind, and be humble. And I think those are three really nice things to remember. I'm trying to remember that you can, if you excel, this can often lead many people to become what you might describe as arrogant, or they think they should receive a reward for their excellence and they deserve something for their excellence. I think you could argue that, hopefully that would happen, but I think you should excel to excel. The purpose of excelling is to excel. Excel for the sake of excelling. Be excellent, and then be humble and be kind. Be kind and be humble. And so that if you are in a position where you have the opportunity to excel, take advantage of that opportunity and excel, and then don't guilt trip or be upset with others because they're not doing what you did. Instead, be humble and be kind, and try to encourage others through that kindness. Because if you excel, everyone's going to see that you are excelling. When somebody puts the time in and the effort in to become excellent at something, it's pretty easy to see the difference between, generally speaking, between people that have put that time and effort in and people that haven't. And so if you're one of those that has, then don't use that as a chance to place yourself above others. Use that as a chance to encourage others and inspire others. And so be kind and be humble. And so that's my message to you today, along with Tim's of Reveille, of get up, gotta get up. When life knocks you down, set it aside and get up again. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. That's the best thing you can do for this world that we live in. So that's the message today from episode 35, Noah's Groovecast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is actually the longest one to date. And I think this is probably going to be the only one where I do a pre-recorded interview like this. So this one is probably going to be the longest one that ever happens. In the future, I think, still not 100% decided, but I do think I'm going to be bringing it back down to about 30 minutes per episode. And I think I'm going to start doing them a little more frequently, like doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Or Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, maybe. So I can keep the Fridays open. Or more wide open. I don't know. We'll see. But regardless, that's it for this one. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a good day. And be nice to people out on the roads. Drive safe. Make the roads nicer. Here's another message. Make the roads nicer. Because the road is something that has an impact on us every single day. You know how it feels when somebody cuts you off, or when people are doing obviously aggressive or disrespectful, careless thoughtless actions on the road that negatively impact everyone else. It sucks. It's you realize there's somebody out there that doesn't care, that may cause an accident or create problems for others. If they're willing to do that on the road, they do that in other areas of their life. It's discouraging. But then also pay attention to all the people that maybe pay more attention to all the people that are actually driving with respect and being nice, and not the one or two people that are morons. And don't let that disturb you. There's always going to be a one or two morons, and focus on the people that are being consistent and respectful. If somebody throws their turn signal on and they need to merge, let them merge. You uplift somebody when you do that. You make their life. It's like such an easy thing to do, and it makes the road safer. It makes somebody else's life easier, and it shows that we are looking out for each other. And so I think this is not a petty thing. If we make the roads better in terms of the culture of the roads, that's going to improve all different areas of life. So be nice to people on the roads. You don't know how you might bless somebody's day just through a nice thing that you do on the road. So be nice to people on the roads. Let's make it should be easy to drive on the roads. Leave with time to get there. And these things do carry over into other ways. I mean, sometimes people are driving on the road because they're stressed from different things. And so maybe economic stress causes things to happen on the roads. And so there are a lot of things that we can do better, but maybe just a simple one is be nice on the roads. Okay, I'm out of here. You guys have a good day. Be nice on the roads. I hope you have a safe, nice experience on the roads. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.